Welcome to the Veterans Growing America podcast. I am here with my illustrious co-host, Donnell Johns, and we have an amazing guest today. We have Chris McPhee, who is the owner of Green Beret Media and also the co-founder of Triple Nikel. Welcome to the show, my man.
Appreciate it, fellas. Yo, I'm thank you for having me this evening or today or whatever time of day it is here. I'm
Whatever
still trying
time of day, it's a beautiful day, right?
good day today. But thanks for having me.
Hey, Chris, I know me and you go way back, but I want my audience to know a little bit about you. Can you share a little bit about your military experience and background?
I will definitely. Yeah, we do. We definitely go way back. So the journey for me started in 1994. Pretty much is when I joined the military right after high school, about 30 days. I graduated on June 15th, and July 14th, I was in basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. You know, went to Fort Benjamin Harrison for AIT, advanced training. I started out as a personnel soldier. So after about 3 years of being in Fort Riley there in the garrison, I decided, I was like, you know what? I see this opportunity here as a Green Beret, and I went for it. And that's where the journey from there, over the next 17 years, I spent at Fort Bragg and retired in 2015.
So let's dig a little bit deeper. We know we kind of put you on the platform as an entrepreneur. How did your military experience influence your journey as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think for me, as I think back growing up in Miami, Florida, my mom, I would see her. She was the one who was at festivals and different events in the city selling T-shirts or food or fruit cups. So I think as an entrepreneur, even before I even joined the military, that was always there. Cutting grass and washing cars, and just doing things on the side to exchange a service for some money. But in the military, I think the skills that I acquired the most was just having structure and having that go get it attitude, never quit. And so I think that's the best thing I would say from my military experience has helped me during these years of entrepreneurship since I've retired.
I love that. I love that. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to start your own business. I mean, because business is one of those things that people think about, but your inspiration had to come from somewhere.
Actually, my first business I started was back in I would say 1997. So, back before we can even do this, before we even had cell phones, before people was really, really on the internet and was able to have a computer in almost every household, I was interested in building computers. And I learned how to build computers. I learned how to repair computers over a period of time. So after I left Fort Riley, Kansas in 1997, I ended up at Fort Bragg and doing my time there before going to the Q course, the qualification course there at Fort Bragg. I decided to start a small business doing computer upgrades. And so that's what I did. I got online, I figured out how to apply for my EIN because I needed that tax ID to go down to the local computer spot there where you could buy all the parts. And I needed to have that. So I went there and I would just go and buy my parts wholesale, and anybody who needed a computer upgrade, whether most of the time it was like CD-ROM drives or install a new 3.5 floppy disk. So, or they may want to go to a 5 1/4, And that's what I would do. I would just do those basic setups, troubleshooting them, mostly Windows System 3.1, if anybody ever saw what that operating system looked like. But that's where I would say just the desire to have my own business started. And but over the period of time, it's expensive to stock parts, and I didn't really know too much about how to market. At the time, I think I was about what 20, probably about 23, 24 at this time. So I didn't know all these things about marketing, and then like I said, there wasn't no social media. So the way you market that business is you have to make a flyer. Paper flyers and newspapers was the thing. And so I just made some flyers up at the print shop, and I would just hang them up in the barracks spots. I would go to the grocery store and I would put them out and just hope. And it was called A Plus Computer Upgrades is what was the name of it. But that's how it started for me. I just was inspired by just being a business owner and trying to make my own money.
So let's talk a little bit about the businesses. So kind of a two-part question, but tell us a little bit about Green Beret Media, what they do, and then kind of transition into Triple Nickel.
Okay, I hope we have enough tape for this, because I'm gonna do my best to condense this story. So Green Beret Media, didn't, I didn't just wake up one day and was like, you know what, I'm gonna start a photography company. But prior to starting Green Beret Media in 2018, after retirement, 2015, I worked as an intel analyst for one of the IED joint agencies here in Washington, D.C. And so over a period of time, about 2 years, I just got tired of 12 hours a day, reading intel reports, putting together packages to go just defend and support what was going on in Iraq and Afghanistan at the time. So even though I was retired from being on the battlefield, I was still on the battlefield mentally, with reading reports and building information packs for all the units on the ground, still supporting the fights. And actually, it was a gentleman, I'm gonna give him a shout out here, Rod Rodriguez. And Donnell knows this guy really well. And we met, and he was talking all this stuff about social media and what's all going on and the things he's doing. And he was starting a podcast. And he was like, yeah, I have this podcast called the After Action Review Podcast. And I interview veterans that have their business, and we talk about their the successes and the challenges that they have. So he's like, go and watch this show on YouTube, or this other guy here, guy named Gary V, and tell me what you think. So I was like, man, I'm on LinkedIn over here where all the professionals, and I because that's what I knew right transition out of the military, that was the place you need to be if you were trying to get a job. So I was on LinkedIn. I had a good social presence there at the time, as far as getting hired and working on a job. And I came in the next morning. I was like, "What is this? I want to know more about it." And I saw all the people in these videos that were doing photography, that were working with social media, having fun, and having a good time, and enjoying what they're doing, and just being creative. So I acquired some camera experience and skills during my years in special forces, doing surveillance and doing reconnaissance missions. So I had a camera kit of my own still. And I was like, let me take this camera and see what I can do with it. And a little long story short, I met a gentleman who invited me out to help him shoot a quinceañera. And from that point, he was like, man, your shots are good. I was like, really? you seem like you have a natural talent for this, and from that point, I just shot with a rock band for some time. Started Green Beret Media, went on the site to Virginia here and registered my business, set up my business account. And by this time, I've already gone through this process of learning how to start your business, which takes me back to a recommendation I got from a friend that saw a lady who was getting government contracts, and she was working these government contracts, like acquiring sports equipment for a gym. And he said, well, I said, well, how do you do that? He said, you should do it. You're a veteran. It should be a good opportunity for you to get government contracts. I was like, well, I don't know how to do that. He's like, well, go to this site. It's SBA.gov and read everything. I was like, really, dude? Read everything? But at that time, you're thinking 2012, the SBA site where it is now, back then, there wasn't a lot of videos and a lot of tutorials that we have now, but everything was in print. So, and they had this checklist, how to start a veteran owned business. And from the start, register your, EIN, register your business, go here, get a DUNS number, like pretty much a straight checklist from start to finish. And I started a company before Green Beret Media and the government contracting for security consulting. So that was an independent business that I ran, one person LLC, still training and teaching the same skills that I learned in special forces to the new breed of soldiers that are coming through. Because once, with GWAT, a lot of the experience in special forces retired and went to go start government contracting companies. So that cycle continued. So when I retired, they still needed, people with the institutional knowledge to help train the new force. So that was like my first official business I started before I even retired from the military, and then which led to me just wanting a new outlet, a new, just introducing myself to something else than other than just fighting war and teaching, tech stuff and intelligence. So I had fun with it. And that's basically how Green Beret Media was started.
I had no idea about that story. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so tell me this, right? We all leave the military. And if your military experience in transitioning process was as rosy as mine, then you're good. But tell me about your transition experience and how that translated from the military world to the business world.
I would say to start with that transitioning for me is still going on. I retired in 2015. This is 2024. We're approaching 2025. So over the years, what I have learned is that, you're going to continue, whether people believe it or not, you're going to continue to go through points of transition after you get out of the military, right? So, I retired in 2015. That was a transition. I worked for 2 years as a contractor, thinking I wanted to work at an institution, and I decided to go and experience entrepreneurship. So that was a transition, learning the things I didn't know and making mistakes and taking losses, transitioning through the different phases to entrepreneurship and just getting to know who you are, like developing your personality, because that doesn't happen overnight. I spent 21 years as a soldier from age 18 to 42 at the time when I retired. And so I had to build, figure out who I was, like who am I, Someday it hit me one day. I started running around and telling people I'm your camera guy. I don't know. but that's what I think about transition, and that's my outlook on it. I'm not looking. It's gonna always be a transition for me. But what I've learned in the military, the people that I've met, the difficult situations I've been in, the challenges that I faced, they've hardened me for what we might encounter here out in the world, because we don't have those units. We got to find new units. We got to find new mentors within the spaces where we're working and living.
Hey, so what would be some advice that you would have for soldiers like myself who are in and have plan on transitioning out of the military eventually and getting into entrepreneurship? And what are some of the lessons that you learn inside the military that kind of guides that advice?
First, I'll just start with the skills that you have in the military and how those could transition. While you're in now, take advantage of having structure and knowing how to plan things out. You know, if you're a senior leader or you're a junior leader or junior leader, the operations order is an easy way, you know, if all of us, you know, if you know, I don't know who brought the idea out, but I've been able to use it for some time, and it was introduced to me. I forget the name of the author of the book, but there's a book called Running Lean, and then he talks about the business canvas, which is a short, you know, get it down on paper real quick. You don't have to sit down and write out a full-blown business plan. Depends on what you want to do or what type of business this is. And I would add that. Some people is like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But if you're planning to roll out this big corporation, yes, write a business plan, because the business plan is your research paper about your business to help you learn about the business and industry that you're going into. So if you skip that step, you're going to spend a lot of time bumping your toe and running into walls because you didn't take the time to know the business that you're trying to go into or pursue. So I would say take that time on active duty to learn the business, take your time to put it together. Unless you got some super hot product that's cutting edge, get out there as fast as you can. But if you're on active duty, I don't see you getting out or ETSing or transitioning no time soon, unless you're about, you know, let's say if you're about 24 months out, you can start preparing yourself for that transition and starting things up as much as you can, especially all your back office and admin things. You know, get those things squared away, get your accounts right, get your money right, you know, get those things squared away, because I think just like on active duty, you know, we have garrison soldiers and we have soldiers who are great in the field. Then you have those folks who can do both. Be a good garrison soldier before you go into the field of business, right? Get your admin in your back office together first so you can focus on getting at the business once you got everything started. Because trying to do both at the same time, it's difficult, right? And that depends on what. So get your skill up there. The second part, I think, what was the second part of that? I got bro. What was the second part of
Yeah,
that question?
what is your what is some words of advice for somebody transition out of military that you learned in the military?
Okay, so I spoke about getting, you know, structure in the admin piece. I think that the one thing that soldiers have to their advantage, depending on where you were in service and what you did, but I think just having the grit to just push through the hard times, I think that's something internal. You can't learn that in a business MBA class. You can't learn that at a seminar. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, then you know what you have to do to just develop your resiliency as a person or as an entrepreneur, because you have to be resilient my brother Donnell here, he since I've met him, he's been bouncing forward. Even when I know he had to bounce back, he's still bouncing forward. We've experienced some things together that was unfortunate, but that's the resiliency that we have, the soldiers. I think it's a good thing. And those two items are very general. Anything groundbreaking, I say the third thing I would say, get a mentor, get somebody who's in that business. Class is great. You'll learn a lot of things in class, but you're not gonna learn everything. And you're gonna need somebody who has walked that path before you and can give you some insights of, hey, instead of doing this, these are some things I did. You could get it from a mentor or somebody who really knows you and appreciates you, or you could pay for it by going to a master class. But I think the first is better for you when you're just starting out, if you don't have the money and the funding to do that.
So you alluded to in the last question your experience with VGA, but can you talk to the public about your involvement in VGA and how VGA has impacted what you do and how you do business?
Man, VJ, Veterans Growing America. Growing. It's the reason why we are growing now. But I love it. I love the slogan. Since day one, I was sitting with Donnell in a sandwich potbelly shop in Washington, D.C. I was at Bunker Labs in the Veterans and Residency program, and he would come and visit me after we met at the Military Influencer Conference in Washington, D.C., which is founded by one of my business partner with Triple Nikel, Cortez Riggs. And so we met there and built a relationship. And later on to that, fast forward to that moment, Donnell's telling me about this idea of putting together some pop-up shops with veterans that sell, veteran entrepreneurs that want to start their business and building this community of people that are in business together, not by themselves. He was like, yeah, man, it could be like this and we'd do this. And, the prominent statement out of that conversation was like, you got to be the mall, not the store. And I was like, okay, I'm following that. I could follow that. So we met a couple other entrepreneurs at MIC, and together with Donnell's vision, we started coming together and putting VGA together and making it a reality. So the first one kicked off, was it 2019, yep. I believe.
December 2019.
Yeah, and during the end of the year at a coffee shop, and I was like, okay, all right, we're in the coffee shop. Nothing looking like a mall, but this is a start. This is a start. So, but it was an awesome day. Everything went as planned. Even if we didn't plan it, it looked like it was planned because the energy there and the time of the year and the crowd that was coming through, things just started happening. But from that point, I think that was a good point for us to start off, because it made his vision a reality, and it helped other entrepreneurs at that time that was looking for a crew to join a community, and they had found it there that weekend. And so from that point on, all of us who were there initially have moved on and started their own company, or they're still with VGA today in some capacity. And so that's VGA has been great, not only for myself with Green Beret Media, but also with my business partners, Ruben Ayala, Rod Graham, and Cortez Riggs, and myself. We use the VGA platform to help start our business. So we're a brand new apparel company. Triple Nikel is our name. Triple Nikel Apparel. We're an apparel company. We started in 2020, the height of the pandemic. And once we got out of quarantine and was able to get back in the streets, we needed a place to just kick this thing off and connect with people and get out and build a community. And you know, that's an old fashioned way, beating the streets, you know. We have a lot of digital and a lot of tools that we can use on the internet. But for some businesses, I think you still need to get out on the street, and that's what we did. And a lot of the businesses that come to VGA, that's how they started, right there. And I know a couple of them. They have their own buildings now, their own stores. They're doing big things. Traveling the world in AFEs and other department stores. So we did the same thing. We started Triple Nikel, and I was like, hey, I know Donnell. I introduced Ruben to Donnell. Good connection, good relationship. And since that day, VGA has been there, a platform for us not only to develop our business, but also we are now doing business together, providing apparel for the shop and then any other small businesses within VGA that need apparel. So it was just a good vision of Donnell to see where it is now. It's awesome. So I'm just the camera guy. I show up now and then, but I'm always behind the scenes talking with Donnell every evening, a couple, 2-3 times a week, texting via text, talking on the phone in the middle of the day while he's raising capital. While he's raising capital. And another advice I would, speaking of capital, because that's one of the most important things for entrepreneurs that's on active duty. If you have to transition into a regular job for a couple of years, to do that, and we've all heard this before. Don't quit your day job until you're able to make that transition. If you do it so soon, I think unless you got a groundbreaking product, it's going to put a lot of stress on you. It's going to put a lot of stress on you unless you have a whiz bang product and you can market it and get investors. But for those of us who just want to start something small, use that daytime, that 9 to 5, to help you build capital. And hey, this week I'm gonna get my website. This week I'm gonna do this. This week, if you're a camera guy like me, and you're not able to work for 3 years as a contractor in the Middle East, you know what I'm putting down. You can't just buy this stuff, because I just had the money to go buy it. I looked online on YouTube. I was like, what camera I need? Okay, boom, let me get 2. Oh, what kind of microphone I need? All right, let me get 2 of those. Oh, this is what lens they're using. Boom. So I had everything at day one. I didn't have to work up because I had the funding to pay for my cameras. I had the funding to get my website and do these things that I needed, get business cards and hire editors and just go through a series of trial and error process in a year. But that's how life began, or how life was with me, and we kicked off VGA.
No, that's a lot of cool stuff that we went through and grown together, and that's what VGA is all about. It's all about being in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And we're able to share those lessons in that community where we can all grow together. And it's been an honor to serve with you on this side of the uniform, where we're not only able to help, ourselves as far as business is concerned, but we're also able to help so many other people, with their businesses. and really just highlighting and spotlighting our community in a positive way. So I want to thank you on camera, on camera, the I Am Your Camera guy, for all of your support, guidance, and mentorship throughout this entire process. We have been through a lot, like he said, we're bouncing forward, but the only way that we as a community bounce forward is by leaning on each other and supporting each other through this process, because entrepreneurship is hard. I'm just going to let y'all know, in podcast land, entrepreneurship is hard, and it's not for the faint of heart. I've seen many men quit, no matter what their background is, from admin to special forces. It is not an easy task. But what you do need is a community of people that you trust. And that's what we're building here at VGA, that can help you through that. And that's why we do what we do. We have 3 businessmen on this call, and our goal together is to grow and to take our businesses to the next level. And that's what this platform is all about. So I want to thank you, Chris, and also thank you, Rob, for contributing in the excellence that we have here at VGA. And, like Chris, alluded to, growing, right? It's not easy. It's painful, but you have to continue to move forward. And so, Rob, take us out of here. I know you got one final question.
Oh, for sure. So I actually got a couple of things, right? So first, Chris, how can folks get a hold of you for your services?
You can get a hold of me at Headshots by Chris McPhee. .com. That's my headshot page. That'll take you there. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. There's a quick DM on LinkedIn. Christopher Smurf. You add the Smurf to the middle, you'll find me, McPhee. I'm on Instagram as I'm Your Camera Guy. That's my @sign, and at Chris McPhee on Twitter. So, or X.
I love it.
I was like, Twitter, where's the
X? See, we moving forward. We moving forward.
Yeah, X, we moving forward. No, I want to, just one alibi I want to add to what we spoke about, attaching to the community. And I think that's another thing for if you're transitioning out. Back in 2015, I didn't really see many organizations. I think the first organization that I saw online, community and entrepreneurship, was the Military Influencer Conference.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me to them, and going to that conference in 2019, because I had been watching it for 2 or 3 years online while I was in Kuwait working as an analyst. And that's actually how I met Cortez, was through LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So I say that to say this: now we have, organizations like Bunker Labs, like the Rosie Network, which I have been a part of and worked with, and I see what they're doing. And what that leads to is that you need to find a mothership. You need to find a crew to run with. You're used to being in a unit, you're used to having friends, you got your clique of guys or gals that you run with in the city. You need that when you transition, because they're gonna be there. You're gonna leave everybody behind, and you're gonna move on. So you need to find a new unit to sign up with, as we would say. But one of these organizations, a group of entrepreneurs that are like-minded individuals. And so that's why you should come to VGA.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, and speaking of which, Donnell, how do you support VGA?
So the first thing that you need to do is go to our website, veteransgrowingamerica.com. The second is to become a member of our organization. The third thing that you need to do is follow us on all social media channels. And then if you're in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, the fourth thing that you're going to do is stop by Veterans Growing America. We're open 7 days a week. You can support veteran small businesses in person and buy their product or service, as well as shop, baby.
Shop, baby.
Shop, baby.
Over.
All you gotta do is shop, baby.
Out.
Out.